Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Walter Lee. I'm a professor at the Hamburg University of Applied Sciences here in Hamburg, and welcome you to our session on reconstruction of the Ukraine. We know that Europe now is seeing dark times with this war, this conflict. There's much human suffering, much damages, not only to people, but also to the environment. Therefore, a silver lining in these dark times is the fact that there are a number of great works right now taking place, many nice initiatives to reconstruct the country. In our workshop today, we want to present some of these initiatives. So we have 4 presenters in this session. We'll start with Dr. Maria Federuk. She'll talk about, you can take your place already, the environmental as the first victim of the war. Then you'll be followed by Dr. Alexander Kunik, who will talk about a sustainable medical waste. Anna Marchenko will follow with strategies for energy efficient reconstruction of war-damaged regions. And then finally, the final presentation will be done by Valeria Miliutina about war waste and its potential. Before we start, I want to express our gratitude to DBU for supporting our work, support this continued effort. It's a small contribution to Germany towards helping the Ukraine. It's wonderful people. Over to you, Maria.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me there? Great. So my name is Maria Federuk. I am from Hamburg University of Applied Sciences, working with Professor Lal and our wonderful team. And today I'm going to present one of our projects, the Ukraine Nature Project, which was funded by Deutsche Bundesstiftung Umwelt. We appreciate this. And yeah, as far as we don't have too much time, I will start. So this is our team. As far as we were investigating a lot in Ukraine, we had a lot of Ukrainians working with us. We collected nice Ukrainian team, and also half of our team were from Hamburg University of Applied Sciences, my colleagues. And we had in our team the experts in soil, in biodiversity, in geese, in different spheres, because now you will understand why I will present it. So we chose 4 locations, 2 in Kyiv Oblast, it's Chernobyl Radiation and Ecological Biosphere Reserve, Holosivsky National Nature Park, Hetmansky, it's in Sumy region, and Desnyansko-Starohutsky National Nature Park, also in Sumy region. In Sumy region, both of the national parks are located very close to the Russian border. And we were trying to get as much as possible information about environmental impacts from military actions on the preservation areas in Ukraine. These preservation areas are very important not only to Ukrainians and to our territory, but also to the whole Europe and even to the whole world, because they are also in an emerald network. This is the special European-wide network which collect all protected areas. It's established to protect species and habitats that are threatened. And if you have damages in one part of this network, then of course the whole network would be influenced. So we divided our research in 2 phases. On the first phase, we were assessing and mapping the environmental damages caused by the war in Ukraine, and on the second phase, we were preparing the recommendations of what can we do. This recommendation will assist in the reconstruction efforts. We used a lot of different methods because this research was very complicated, and we started from literature review as always. We used secondary databases, even the State Emergency Service of Ukraine, also NASA databases of fires. We used remote sensing, mapping, soil, and we were lucky to get soil and water samples from Ukraine. Thanks to our colleague Anastasia Sploditel, she is on the picture actually, and we also had key informant interviews and field observation and data analysis. So this is the process of sample collections. Those are craters from artillery bombardment, different size of different shells in Sumy region. That's the how we did the satellites pictures. In the Snezhnyansko-Starohutsky National Park, we took picture before, not we, satellites. We just uploaded them from the database. The picture from before, you can see that no burnt territories and fires on 15th is on the next picture. Those fires were actually made by Russians. They made these fires on purpose on their territory in order to get our fire workers and workers from preservation areas closer because they wanted to kill them. And so that's one of the strategy of the war. So they are using nature as a weapon. Because they know that somebody will take in order to take care of fire. And on this picture, we have the burnt territories already. You can clearly see them also from the satellites pictures. We used also different indexes to analyze the burnt territories. It's also in the Snezhnyansko-Starohutsky National Park. And then when we collected all the information, we did the maps of 4 preservation areas. And you can see the red areas, it's the burnt areas, dots that are mine danger, and blue areas, it's occupied, where the occupation were, and red dots around, that's the clashes and remote violence and battles. So if to sum up of all the research results, the mining of 4 territories more than 4.5 times bigger comparing to Berlin. You can imagine how big is the mining territory. And fires that caused by artillery shelling and purposeful setting on fires in forested areas, they took away like 14 of Chernobyl biosphere reserve during occupation. I am not telling about after the occupation because there were also some fires. And 7 to 8% of the Snezhnyansko-Starohutsky, but I have to tell you that it's continuous. So now the burnt territory will be even bigger because this is numbers from fires on 2023. And also we got information about remote violence like artillery, avia missile attacks, drones, shells with a weight from 6 to 43 kilos is, imagine the size of this shell, it's almost like me. And so military occupation of the land was 94% of Chernobyl and 46% of Hechmansky. That means the movement of and maintenance of military vehicles and machinery, also fortification. When you have heavy machinery, you also have a lot of oil spills and lubricant spills. That's why occupation is also very bad for the nature because a lot of territory is now contaminated with toxins from oil and lubricants. And also we had information about armed clashes between opposite armed forces. It means that gunfires and different methods of military fights. For example, flooding, it's also one of the methods of the war. So this is the moment of starting the fire from the bomb explosion, that you can see how it starts and why because before this project I didn't know that it could even happen. That's how the fire looks like from above. This was from military border drone. It was taken not from satellite picture, as you can see. It was made by drone. And that's how the fire looks like already from the ground. This is a crater formed by aerial bombardment, and as you can see, it's filled with groundwater. It means that the different quality of soil is changed, and also the land surface is changed, which is also very bad for the habitats. This is damages from trenches in Holosievsky National Park. You can see how they look like. They also bad for trees, for the roots, and they are damaging the land surface. That's damages from artillery and gunfires. This is long-term damages because they are ruining the trees, and we will see the circumstances with time, not at the moment. So also we got recorded the hostility-induced indirect factors like destruction or damages of infrastructure of national parks, significant shortage of financial support and income because, for example, in Sumy region they got a lot of income from tourists, and now of course when the territory is mined and the constant shelling every day, they have no tourists at all, so that means no income at all. And reduction in number of employees due to military obligation and forced migration. Also, they have stolen and damaged equipment. So in the national parks, cars and computers, they were stolen by occupants, by Russians. Security measures up to 20% of some of national parks are taken to security measures because they have to mine, even Ukrainian military, they have to mine the territory, they have to take the different military fortification in order to secure themselves. So it's almost lost. Then due to limited access, for example, unexploited ordnance or mines, it is impossible to effectively control protected nature reserves and protect biodiversity also from fires, poaching, illegal logging, etc. So this is one of methods that we used. This a map of habitats, natural habitats. We compared this with the military actions, and we understood how the habitats were impacted on these territories. However, the limited access to the territory due to mining and shelling restricts researchers and society in acting towards data collection and nature protection and recovery. So at the moment, what we really need to do is to ensure legal accountability for environmental war crimes, as well as to intensify the efforts to stop the war and to constant monitoring and assessment of environmental damages. So that's how the maps of each of area looks like for environmental impacts. We divide it into grids, and now we have the contamination assessment from none to extremely high. Oh, okay. I will have to speed up. So we have soil contaminated of hazard classes like lead, magnesium, zinc, copper, vanadium. We have soil, vegetation, and cover habitats damaged also in Chernobyl and Desnyansk-Ostrohutsky. Habitats in place of migration, reproduction, and feeding is damaged of a number of species. And also we have soil and compression and erosion. Also the soil loss of ability to self-recover due to bombing and military, heavy military equipment. So that's how the measures, what can we do actually with all these damages that we recorded on these territories? First of all, we divided action into two, before the end of military action and after the end of military action. Because now we don't have access to recover the whole territory, but what we can do, we can monitor and do a risk assessment. We can do emergency stabilization treatments, and we can do the digitalization mapping of the process of monitoring, and we can do restoration measure planning. That's what we can do at the moment. And then, of course, we have the huge list of what we can do after the war finished. And maybe some of the territories would be not good enough for protection areas anymore, and we will need to create another protection areas in different locations. So we have for 4 of them. I will not concentrate a lot on each of them because I don't have much time. We also did dissemination activities. We were talking about this environmental impact everywhere we could, in 2F, in 3Sat, in DSat, in all possible medias that wanted to listen to us. And what we do now, we are developing Ukraine Nature Network. It's a platform to congregate and disseminate information on environment and protected projects in Ukraine in the context of the current war. And we are inviting everybody to join us, so please use the QR code here on the screen. And what this platform will be will give you a lot of different possibilities. For example, access to information on current projects, also dissemination of your project that you are doing during these 2 years concerning the war, also access to information on project calls, and also possibilities to get in touch with organizations and to make another projects and to somehow to move forward the recovery from this horrible war. And yeah, thank you for your attention. Please contact me in LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn, so you're welcome to contact me if you have more questions or you want to have more cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria. As Maria has mentioned, please feel free to get in touch with us. If you want to cooperate in Ukraine in respect of environmental projects, please feel free to contact our team. The next speaker will be Dr. Alexandra Kunik, because during the war, there's one more problem, namely the number of people who have been injured. You know, many people who have been treated in hospitals, and one issue is the amount of medical waste produced. So Dr. Kunik presents a project about medical waste in the Ukraine. 10 minutes, please.
Action program. My name is Alexandra Kunik and I am researcher from Ukraine, particularly from Kherson National Technical University. Currently I am working in Sustainable Development and Climate Change Management Research and Transfer Center, HAVI, Hamburg, headed by Professor Walter Leal. And today I have a honor to present a project Ukraine Medical Waste, which was carried out in 2023 and was sponsored by Deutsche Bundesstiftung Umwelt. The war in Ukraine has destroyed much of the healthcare facilities. The Ministry of Health of Ukraine estimates that over 2,200 hospitals with over 400,000 beds, 746 facilities have been damaged and 123 have been completely destroyed. According to the State Ecological Inspectorate of Ukraine, almost 98,000 tons of medical waste was generated before the war per year. The average amount of medical waste generated during the current war is 10 times higher. Approximately 1% of this waste is burned and turned into environmentally friendly ash. The rest is disposed at around 6,000 legal and 33,000 illegal dumps across the country. These volumes make medical waste management in Ukraine almost impossible. So 75% of waste generated in healthcare facilities doesn't come into contact with patients' bodily fluids or infections patients and is similar in composition to household waste. It's waste like namely glass, paper, packaging, decommission soft goods like gowns, bed linen, diagnostic equipment that has lost consumer properties and so on. 25% are classified as hazardous and may pose a risk to the environment and human health. If waste is not properly disposed of, it becomes a source of different environmental pollution and poses a threat of public safety. This becomes especially problematic when it comes to hazardous waste. The level of contamination in it is 1,000 times higher than in ordinary household waste, as it is contaminated with pathogenic microorganisms and viruses, and therefore poses a serious epidemiological and environmental hazard. The existing problems also has a negative impact of the implementation of SDG goals. In Ukraine, as a member of international community, Ukraine must take into account 17 SDGs in all its decisions, including in the area of medical waste management, which directly affects on SDG 12 and SDG 3. So therefore, the main goal of the project Ukraine Medical Waste is analysis of the amount and types of medical waste formed in the sample of hospitals in the city of Ivano-Frankivsk and determination of variants of specific utilization and or processing of this waste. The specific objective you can see on the slide was study the amount of medical waste generated in the city's hospitals, identify and describe upscales and gaps in the safe handling and final disposal of waste generated in the selected healthcare facilities, identify the health and safety risk associated with inadequate management of healthcare waste, and propose measures to address the problem. On the German side, on project work team, heavy team, led by Professor Leal, it's Tatiana Lisovska, Maria Fedoruk, and Daria Tasser-Taski. And from Ukrainian side, it was team Olena Melnik and Ivana Ozarko. The project focuses on city Ivano-Frankivsk, which has been less affected by direct hostilities, but has a significant burden on the healthcare system due to the large number of internally displaced persons, because this place, west of Ukraine, is more safely. The project involved 9 hospitals, which you can see on the slide, and among them are oncology, cardiology, palliative care, perinatal, and general hospitals. To obtain the results, the research team relied on several methods, including bibliometric analysis, interviews with key informants, data collected from the hospitals involved in the study. To assess the current situation with medical waste management, a survey was conducted among the chief medical officers of 9 hospitals in Ivano-Frankivsk. According to this survey, 6 of 9 hospitals have clearly defined guidelines for the disposal, reuse, or recycling of medical waste. Only 1 facility has an agreement with medical device manufacturers who are financially and organizationally responsible for the waste management phase of their products. Since the beginning of war, 2 out of 9 hospitals have changed their specialization, and 6 of them have increased the number of patients from 10 to 40%. The survey results also showed that the amount of plastic medical waste is between 50 and 72%. Many of these plastic materials can be recycled or reused if properly separated, such as syringe system, elastomers, and infusion pumps. According to the survey, the most popular method of sterilizing instruments for reuse is autoclave sterilization. Other methods include chemical cleaning, ultraviolet, and plasma sterilization. The study identified the main problems of medical waste management in Ukraine. As you can see, it's ineffective legislative framework, of course it's limited funding, and insufficient infrastructure for medical waste treatment and disposal, and the last, lack of knowledge and training of medical staff. In the current situation, the problem of insufficient infrastructure for medical waste processing and disposal is worse emphasizing. There are only 2 certified facilities in Ukraine that can dispose of medical waste. Both are located more than 700 kilometers from this territory, from west of Ukraine, city Ivano-Frankivsk, and both of them are in Kyiv and Odessa. In order to share German experience in medical waste management, the Ukraine MedWaste project organized study visits for Ukrainian hospital managers. During the visit, the Ukrainian hospital managers had the opportunity to visit 2 large hospitals in Hamburg, it's Asklepios Clinic and the University Medical Center Hamburg-Eppendorf, and discuss their experience in medical waste management. Also, the head of 9 Ukrainian clinics took part in a training seminar with a representative of the waste management company Remondis on the specific of Germany waste management legislative. Also, the heads 9 Ukraine clinics in December 2023 have an online training, Sustainable Medical Waste in Ukraine, Yes, it was organized for all representatives of Ukraine clinics, and also it was include local authorities. More than 140 participants were in this online training. After participating in the project, hospital managers and staff become aware of the need for proper medical waste management. The hospitals that, okay, it's a little bit more. For example, appointing responsible person for sorting medical waste, as you can see in this table, arranging separate rooms for waste sorting, conducting training seminars for staff, and other actions. Yes, and the next slide. So at the final stage of the Ukraine Med Waste project, recommendation for reconstruction and investment were development. This development you can see on the slide, and it's like a summary. To improve the situation with medical waste in Ukraine, it's necessary to develop infrastructure, improve the legislative framework, introduce the latest recycling technology, conduct training for medical staff on proper waste management. And it's really important, yes, because Ukraine don't have this training of medical staff, and attracting private investment and developing public-private partnership in this area. It's also for lack of funding. Thus, effective medical waste management in Ukraine requires a comprehensive approach that includes legal regulation, technological innovations, and, of course, educational programs. This will help reduce the negative impact of medical waste on human health and the environment. That's all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Alexandra. You can take a seat. I think, as you said, the problem is steadily increasing because the amount of people who have been injured is also increasing. So a big problem to be solved. We carry on with Anna Marchenko now. She'll be talking about the issue of energy conservation, energy efficiency in schools in the reconstruction effort. Over to you. 10 minutes,
Thank you.
please.
Thank you for your introduction. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to be here today and to have the opportunity to talk about the need of the reconstruction of Ukraine in terms of sustainability. As my colleagues already pointed out, the issue of environmental damage is now a matter of great urgency in Ukraine and must be addressed as an integral part of the future reconstruction of our country. In this sense, I would like to thank you all for coming here today and for being part of this conversation. As an architect, I recognize the ecological urgencies going beyond the ongoing Russian war against Ukraine. My own experience with this began with the establishment of my own architectural practice in Dnipro in 2013, when I returned to Ukraine after studying in Germany, with a strong determination to integrate the agenda of sustainability and energy efficiency into my architectural practice. However, this strong will was often met with skepticism by my clients. At that time, the professional discourse on the energy efficiency revolved around insulation and technical equipment, with most of the solutions coming from developed countries. I was often told that the implementation of green solutions in the construction sector in Ukraine would not happen until we had the same income level as in Europe. Such an opinion was very common in Ukraine at the time, and it always bothered me until after several years I realized that it was not a statement of Ukrainian people, but a kind of environmental injustice towards countries with lower incomes. At that point, I started to look for alternative strategies that could change the perception of green architecture in my country. But then the full Russian invasion came to my region and I was forced to close my practice and to leave my home city. In my last research project, with the same title as my today's talk, conducted at Alanis University of Arts and Social Sciences in 2022 and 23, with the support of German Federal Environmental Foundation, I focused on the reconstruction of schools damaged by war against Ukraine. The reason why I chose schools as a subject of my work was quite obvious to me. Schools are places where our children grow up, and they are places where the built environment has a huge impact on an entire generation. By damaging social infrastructure like schools, the Russian invaders are aiming not just to destroy some built infrastructure, but to destroy the future of Ukraine. To date, there are nearly 3,800 educational facilities that have been damaged by the Russian invasion since 2022. According to UNICEF, more than half of Ukrainian children have been forced to leave their homes both inside and outside the country. 4.3 million out of 7.5 million, as you can see in this graph. In July 2022, at the Lugano Conference on the Future Reconstruction of Ukraine, the main principle of the reconstruction was formulated: rebuild better than before. In my research, I asked myself how this message could be translated into concrete architectural solutions. What is the vision for a better future and who should benefit most from it? After exploring such important questions as pedagogy, inclusion, flexibility, typology, new Ukrainian identity, participation, and more, I focused on 3 primary themes, each of them related to a specific aspect of built environment. These themes are function, material, and energy. In these chapters, I elaborated some practical reconstruction strategies based on 8 different typologies of real damaged schools in Ukraine, and summarized them in the form of a catalog for architects and other practitioners. This catalog is available in German and Ukrainian, and I even brought a copy here with me. And I'm going to take you quickly through most important results. In the chapter Function, I try to find an answer to the question of how we can transform schools built in Soviet times for Soviet purposes. The architectural typology of these schools is very similar to that of military facilities, a central corridor that provides access to the classrooms, as you can see in this example. The aim of such spatial structure was to discipline children, making them conform to the system. Since 2017, the Ukrainian government has launched a reform of the educational system called the New Ukrainian School, which aims to implement modern democratic practices in education. However, this new education system often doesn't fit in the Soviet typology and requires a restructuring of the floor plans. In this part of my research, I recognized that it is not only necessary to rebuild damaged schools, but also to rethink most of the typical Soviet school buildings, even those which were not damaged. It makes no sense to renovate these schools in terms of energy efficiency without rethinking their content and typology. So I came up with 12 different functional strategies, which I applied to 8 selected typical schools. In the chapter Material, I addressed the question of what kind of materials we should use to rebuild our country. Conventional building materials such as concrete, steel, fossil-based insulation made from dwindling, non-renewable resources inflict ecological harm from their extractive manufacturing process to their final disposal in landfills. In the case of Ukraine, often even illegal landfills, where they languish, leaching pollutants into the soil. As you can probably guess, I continue to work on the questions I was asking myself as a practitioner in Ukraine. I focused on finding techniques and solutions on how to maintain the existing structure to avoid even more construction waste, but to make buildings more energy efficient without relying on expensive and imported materials and products. I delve deeper into traditional and local materials like straw, clay, and reed, which were once widely used in Ukraine, but then lost out to prefabricated concrete during Soviet colonization in the 20th century, and were latest almost forgotten in the rush of imported progress after 1991. In this chapter, I have also touched on such pressing issues as construction waste after shelling, the rapid loss of forests, the recyclability of building materials, and decarbonization. And in the first chapter, I have also identified the need for energetic refurbishment of existing schools, regardless of their damage. I developed 8 different strategies for model schools buildings in terms of recyclability in local bio-based materials. The reason why I emphasize the regionality is not only due to environmental reasons, but also to social ones. Ukrainian society is in the process of breaking away from Soviet and Russian culture through a revival of our ancestral identity. Regionality will play an important role not only because of resources, but also as a part of cultural and historical identity. In the last chapter, Energy, I tried to answer the question of how to rebuild schools in a climate-friendly way. The Russian invasion has exposed not only a range of environmental problems and resource scarcity, but also the energy supply risks that arise in centralized supply system, such as we currently have in Ukraine. In response, Ukraine society needs to make major systemic changes in these areas to strengthen the country's resilience. Energy decentralization and the use of regionally available and renewable energy sources can be the key to resilient and sustainable reconstruction. In this chapter, I have looked also both at the passive architectural strategies and the sources of renewable energy for the operation of a building. This led me to 8 strategies which I again visualized on my model school buildings. So now Ukraine is facing a great challenge of reconstruction. This reconstruction is not only about the built environment and infrastructure, it is about answering cultural, social, substantial questions about the future of our country. The Ukrainian people are reinventing themselves, questioning old identities and approaches. It is very important that Ukrainian society is involved in this process of reconstruction, so that this process is supported by civil society and controlled and determined by Ukrainians themselves. In this sense, I can really see the reconstruction without participatory processes in the field of architecture and without planning citizen participation as a part of the design process. This and other themes from my research will be part of my future pilot project in Mykolaiv, which is about to start. Now I would like to thank you for your attention and to open the discussion for your questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. Our final presentation will be from Valeria. It's about waste and its disposal. Over to you, Valeria. We can have some questions afterwards.
Hello everyone, my name is Valeria and I presented war waste and its disposal. What is the problem? War waste. Unexploded ordnance, debris, burned vehicles and military equipment, batteries and building ruins. All this is waste that remains in city towns, forests, beaches, in water and in our land after hostilities. We call this waste of war, and it is our duty to prevent the unfortunate impact, to improve processing and senseless and harmful disposal of this object on the territory of Ukraine. What waste is generated during wartime? The first one is from mass attacks. Is it rockets, drone, aircraft bombs, phosphor bombs? The second one is garbage in the war zone, ammunition, auto equipment, military equipment, household waste. And the third is from destruction, waste generated in connection with the damage of buildings and structures as a result of hostilities. Since the beginning of the full-scale armed aggression, Russian troops have launched almost 5,000 missiles and almost 3,500 airstrikes on Ukraine targets. In addition, the occupiers inflicted almost 1,100 strikes using drones. Almost a third of the territory of Ukraine is currently mined. We are talking about both liberated and temporary occupied territories. This is statistic for all the time. The first one, the from mass attacks. Rockets are scary not only because they destroy entry houses. Even when rocket is shot down in the air, it scatters into small particles, and the position substance is contained still get into the environmental. Rockets harm not only the Ukrainian environmental, they are affected the interplanet ecosystem because a large amount of the waste such as fuel, coolants and the other chemical generated during a rocket launch. Ammunition left over from war can contain dangerous chemical. Sorry, wait. I have the small information for the longer time. During the detonation of shells, a number of chemical compounds are formed: carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, brown gas, formaldehyde, as well as large amount of toxic organic matter. Oxidized soaring soil, wood, turf, and structures. During the explosion, all these substances undergo complete oxidation, and the products of the chemical reaction are released in the atmosphere, which eventually causes acid rain. The most common material for the product of ammunition casing is cast iron with steel admixture. This material contains not only the standard iron and carbon, but also sulfur and copper, which enter the soil and can migrate to the groundwater, and evaporation enter the food chain, after both animals and humans. There's a special place in Kharkiv that stored the remains of rockets and particles that Russian fired in the city. Here you can find ammunition from Grads, Iskanders, Smerch, and Tornado S. There are hundreds of ammunition here. Each of them is the destroyed homes and lives of Kharkiv residents. Is it impossible to count the remains of shells, debris from rockets, spent ammunition, and other metal junk? This method involves converting materials from rockets into new products. For example, metal part can be turned into metal ingots and Kevlar fillers into fabric for protective clothing. Is it this possible? It's not possible. The missile can be decided of the special areas for the storage at hazardous waste. Their areas must comply with environmental protection requirements. Okay. This is artist also enjoyed to manufacturers. You can see here the works with the money received from this sale of patriotic souvenir. They can buy some ammunition for soldiers. The second one is garbage in the war zone. On the territory, the zone of activity hostilities, potential garbage dumps appear. They are placed without taking into account sanitary rules and normals. Here you can see that our defenders not only defend the Ukrainian land, but also clean it. In that video, but I can move it. There are our soldiers. The issues of mine safety in Ukraine has been very relevant for a long time. One can only imagine how many mines and shells will remain in our land after the end of full-scale war. According to the State Immigration Service, more than 3,000 square kilometers are contaminated with ammunition. It took 2 years to destroy 2 million mines. The cost of disposal of one unit is approximately 1.33 euros. Currently, more than 3.2 million mines of this type remain exploded in Ukraine. As of military equipment and other burning of vehicles, everything can be resigned. Is it raw materials and high equipment metal? Is it example? The last one is from destruction. One of the biggest problem is based from destruction of infrastructure. We have a new factories of waste. They are significantly different from constitutional ones. In the waste of destruction, there are furniture, application, there are many dangerous substances. Among the mercury thermometers, medicine, high silence, and the bodies of people and animals. And when it's all burning and non-homogeneous mass remains, which creates many problems. The problem is equity. With each new shelling, the volume of the type of waste ingress. They need special handling. The motion waste cannot be taken to general landfills. According to the last data, more than 6,000 tons of demolition waste have accumulated in Ukraine. Okay, the last one. Sorry for this. The disposal of the consequences of the war is definitely just waiting for us. However, this process should be started now. It's grateful that in the condition of large-scale war, we have moved established basic norms close to European one. Solving many problems now may seem out for time. It's clear that their priority will always be preservation of human lives and the restoration of basic service. But while the military is doing its job, we have to prepare. So that when we enter the deoccupied territory, we already have a clear vision, preservation, protection, and mechanism for the faster possibilities restoration of lives in evolution. Thank you for your attention.
Some time for questions outside. We have to vacate this room here at 1:45, so therefore please go outside, have some questions with the speakers. Thank you for being here. Thank you.